Let him cook! Son, let him cook!
An amazing teacher. I love math. Thanks, Mr. Ing. Like and subscribe.
Okay, so today I'll be explaining warm-up question number 1. We are solving this by writing the first step is to write your expression down, which is x squared minus 3x plus 4 minus parentheses minus x cubed plus 7x minus 2. Close that parenthesis off. Step 2 is to distribute and the negative sign. So the key step is to distribute the negative sign to all terms in the second parentheses, which goes from negative x cubed plus 7x minus 2 becomes negative x cubed minus 7x plus 2. Now we write the expression as negative x squared minus 3x plus 4 minus x cubed minus 7x plus 2. After that, we combine like terms, and we do the same thing for this part as well. So for x cubed, there's only negative x cubed. For x squared, there's only positive x squared. And for x combined, negative 3x minus 7x, which equals negative 10. For constants, combined 4 plus 2 equals 6. So the simplified expression is negative x cubed plus x squared minus 10x plus 6. Okay, so the error in this problem is that the mistake in the original solution was forgotten to properly distribute the negative sign to all the terms in the second parentheses. If you don't do that, the signs for x cubed, 7x, and negative 12 will be incorrect. The final answer to this equation is negative x cubed plus x squared minus 10x plus 6. So that should be the final answer after distributing the parentheses. I hope I explained this well. Thank you.
Okay, so let's try this problem out. Basically, that third power means you have it written out 3 times. All right, let's go ahead and multiply these two here. And we're going to multiply first, then we'll add. So that will equal 4x squared minus 28x plus 49. Okay, now we're going to multiply it by another one. So 2x minus 7, then what we just found. So this will equal 8x cubed minus 28x squared minus 56x squared. Okay, so let's multiply those. That'll give us 196x. This will give you 98x, negative 343. So green there. Just combine like terms. Red. This will give us negative 84x squared. Add those two together and you get 294x. And then negative 343. Okay, what's the mistake the student's making? I think the student just tries the mistake is distributing the power of 3. So they're trying to do something like that. This would only work if it was this for some reason. Then you can do this one. This is called the power rule. But the only difference is this one has a minus sign, and you'll notice that this one is a multiplication. So to correct the student, we should expand by having 3. 1, 2, 3. Expand the expression. Expand by having 3 binomials. And then multiply.
So, now that we have figured out what our degree is and what our leading coefficient is, we now have to determine what the end behavior for the graph is. This basically means when a certain thing happens for the x, another thing happens for y. So because it's an even degree, and that means that our y behavior will be the same for both. Because it's a negative leading coefficient, that means that y will always be tending towards the negative, which means our end behavior is as x approaches infinity, positive infinity, then y will approach, or f of x, but y will approach negative infinity. This is because as the graph moves this way towards the positive infinity of x, it is going down on the y-axis. Now we can also say as x approaches negative infinity, comma, y approaches also negative infinity. This is because as this side of the graph goes this way on the x-axis, the negative way, it will also be going this way on the y-axis, which is also the negative one. And then the last part that we have to do is if the graph has symmetry. And we can just pretty easily tell that the graph does not have symmetry simply because of this and the fact that it does not meet here. It doesn't have any symmetry because the maximum extrema and then this relative extrema are in 2 different places, so it can't have symmetry. So no, the graph, brilliant handwriting, I know. The graph does not have symmetry. The extremas are different. Very cool. And that's it.
Okay, let's go ahead and use long division. So I have x plus 7. And then we're going to have the dividend here. I'm first going to see, I should have been to the 3rd power, if I can do this division problem. So that's 3 x's. Then you're left with just x squared. So this x squared, putting here. And then I'm going to go ahead and multiply. This will give me x to the 3rd. And then this would give me 7x squared. Okay, this is the hard part for students right here. You're going to have to subtract. So 1 minus 1 gives you 0, so I don't have to write that, they cancel. And then now pay attention, 2 minus 7 is negative 5. 2 minus 7 is negative 5. We're going to bring down, and then we're going to do this again, negative 5x squared divided by x. And you'll notice it's just negative 5x. So that's what I'm going to use for above here. And then we'll distribute negative 5x squared, negative 35x. Pay attention now. Negative 5 minus 5 is like negative 5 plus 5, so that's 0. Negative 34 minus negative 35, so that's negative 34 plus 35 gives me just 1x, or just x. And then now you're doing x goes into x, that'll just be 1s. So 1 times x, 1 times 7. We're going to subtract. Remember, that's 1 minus 1, 0x, and then 9 minus, got to go back here, minus 7 is 2, and that matches the other one. So let's go ahead and write that out. So the dividend is everything on the inside. Dividend is x cubed plus 2x squared minus 34x plus 9. That is equal to the product of the divisor, x plus 7, product, that's what the product means, and then the quotient is our answer, this part. Quotient x squared minus 5x plus 1, and then this is the remainder plus the remainder. Okay.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Mr. Math Thing. Today we're going to be doing some box method polynomial division. We're going to start with our given. We have the x plus 7, which is our little factor there, and we have x cubed, which we get from here. And what we're going to be finding today is the quotient and the remainder, which is stuff up there. Woohoo. Okay, so let's start with this. So x times something equals x cubed. We know that that is x squared. So with x squared, we can get x squared times 7 is 7x squared. Pretty trivial so far. Now, what we have to do is find our little 7x squared plus or minus whatever equals 2x squared. We know that that is negative 5x squared. Amazing. Now,
Okay, yeah. Keep going.
Uh-huh.
Keep going.
So now, what we need to find is x times negative, or x times what equals negative 5x squared. We know that that's negative 5x. Then we multiply that by 7, or we just multiply that by 7 to get negative 35x. And then we take that, and then we figure out basically what to add or subtract to get negative 34x. We know that we have to add 1x. Yahoo! And then we So then we have this, and then we have x times what is 1x, and we know that that's just 1 plus 1. And then we multiply that by 7, we just have a very simple 7, and then in order to find our remainder, we then figure out what that is. Our remainder will be 2. Very simple, 2. And so then, putting all that together, so now that we have our whole box filled out, we can figure out what our quotient is and our remainder, and that will be x squared minus 5x plus 1, and then plus 2 over x plus 7. Very nice.
To do synthetic division, there's roughly 7 steps. And the first step to do is to set this equal to 0. So x plus 7 equals 0. And of course, you just minus 7 from both sides. So x equals negative 7. And then the next step is to make set up the whole thing. So instead of a division symbol like this, it's more like this. So this is our division symbol. And this is what we'll be doing everything on. And then you have to find the leading, or each coefficient, which is the numbers in front of the x. So there's 1, and then there's 2, and then there's negative 34, and then of course 9. And you just add these all to the top of the little box that we have here, or the half box, I guess. So 2, 1, 2, negative 34, and then 9. And then you put this negative 7 over here. And then next the next step is to just simply bring down this 1 right here. And then the general rule for this is that you multiply diagonally. So you multiply this number and this number, which is negative 7. And then you add up and down right here. So you add these two and multiply these two. So negative 7 plus 2 is negative 5. And then you multiply this one again with negative 7. And this is just kind of a rinse and repeat. So this is positive 35. And then you add these two again, which gets you just 1. And then you multiply 7 times 1, which is negative 7. And then you add these two one more time, which is 2. And this is basically your answer, except you have to add back the x's and the degrees. So to do this, you look at the first one, which is a 3. And you kind of just skip that one. So you go with the 2. So 1x squared minus 5x plus 1. And this 2 happens to be a remainder. So it'd be 2 over x plus 7, because is our original one. And this is your answer and how to do synthetic division. And the final question is x minus 7 a factor? Well, it's not, because in order to be a factor, it has to have no remainder. And since 2 is a remainder for both synthetic division and the box method, it cannot be a factor. So in order for any division problem to be a factor, there cannot be a remainder in the quotient.
All right, so is it a factor? No, x plus 7 is not a factor because the remainder is 2. All right, so big idea. They call this the factor theorem. And then if you have no remainder, then it's a factor. Yes, factor. Red light, if you have it not equal to 0, like a negative or a positive number, then no, not a factor. Okay?
I love the Smiths. I said I love the Smiths. You predicted music. To die by your side.